Tim Walz is all over the place right now. What just came out, it's absolutely unbelievable. Today's supposed to be the No Kings protest day. Democrats are running wild. This man went on a spree and took lives and injured people. And one of the lives are special during a special sessions. This was her last special sessions. This is Melissa Hortman, who was the life was taken, and it turns out that the man who did this was appointed by Tim Walz. Now, many people have come out. I literally just got word as I'm recording that there is footage, and I'm going to show you some, not the actual footage of this, but this is crazy because this man was acting like a police officer, and security camera images show him. So Vance Bolter, who is is connected to Tim Walz. So we're going to talk about the Tim Walz connection. We're going to talk about how Democrats tried to paint this over to MAGA. They tried to say that this is MAGA, and I'll show you why. But this is some of her last moments. Take a listen.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
We're here today because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota. My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa and her husband, Mark, were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Our state lost a great leader, and I lost the dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota.
This is unbelievable to me. So it's coming out here again. They immediately tried to turn this story into what immediately because of the protests happening, because of the country being so divided as it was. Back then in 2020, the same thing is happening all over again. We could talk about who's behind that, but this happened, and the suspect has been announced. His name is Vance Bolter. His full name is Vance Luther Bolter, who, assassinated and murdered Minnesota House Representative Melissa Hortman. No Kings. He had no Kings flyers. They were found in his car. He was a Tim Walz appointee to one of the governor's boards. So here's the proof of that. This dude is an appointee. So yeah, they're going to be asking Tim Walz a lot of questions about why this man could have done this. And here he is: because of a special trust and confidence I have in your integrity, judgment, and ability, I have appointed and commissioned you to have the hold of office. This is, coming directly from the governor. So the governor trusted this guy. The governor loved this guy. There is a clip out there of, I don't want to show it because I don't want to get demonetized, but you guys remember the clip of Tim Walz saying that he was friends with school shooters. And it was a debate against the vice president of today, which is JD Vance. And it was on CNN Live. And even JD Vance, that was the day that he gave people the look like Tim Walz really just said this live on air. That threw a lot of people off, right? Even though Kamala was probably already losing, that made her lose even more. The fact that Tim Walz said, I'm friends with school shooters, what the hell does that mean? But anyways, this story takes a huge turn. It takes a huge turn because there's so many connections other than, Vance. Okay, so the assassin, Vance Bolter's wife, Jenny, also worked for Tim Walz. She worked for him in Washington, D.C. in the early 2010s while he was a congressman. Their connections to Walz go way back. Here she is. Here's some of the proof. So the assassin's wife and the assassin are very close to Tim Walz. Tim Walz then goes on stage and says that he was very close to Melissa Hortman. So what is happening here? Well, we're trying to get down to the bottom of this. And it looks like, these are things, that's going on. Apparently, there is a manifesto. Of course, there's a manifesto. So Minnesota law enforcement refuses to release the manifesto. But guess what? We have the FBI where we would, where we voted them in as, so they won't hide any of this stuff anymore. We're hoping that the FBI gets involved here to release this manifesto. Would be very interesting to see. So there's Vance, there's his pictures, there's the press conference of them basically saying that they're not going to allow this. And I wonder why. In the comments, if it made MAGA look bad, it would be all over the news. You would think that Minnesota, being, a lot of followers, if you're from Minnesota, please let me know down in the comments. But do you think that if this was, if the manifesto had some type of pro-MAGA arguments in there, do you think that they would have released it? The law enforcement in Minnesota, I would say, that would be the case. This is a bad look for the Democrats. So, but after this happened, right, Democrats ran. Kyle Kalinske ran over to YouTube and said that pro-Trump terrorists took the life of Minnesota Democrats. This dude has gone on to YouTube and blamed Trump supporters. Again, this is where I have my differences with a lot of creators and a lot of people, because the fact that you're blaming Trump and Trump people that voted for Trump is why voting for Trump, people look at you like it's the end of the world if you voted for Trump, because of people like Kyle Kalinske that will jump to his program to say that this is pro-Trump terrorism. That is insane. So he jumps to the curb. He says that, and I actually want to play this video right here. I think this video is very important that we all see.
So we have some updated news in regards to the motive behind the shooting of the 2 Minnesota state representatives. It's looking like the man who shot them, who was a Democrat appointed by Tim Walz. Yeah, it looks like he targeted them because they voted against giving taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens. They simply believed that American taxpayers shouldn't pay for illegal immigrants, and he shot them over it. State Representative Melissa Hortman and state...
So now it makes sense of why she was very emotional during this press conference. Does it now make sense? You want to talk about radicalization? You want to talk about radical? You want to talk about deportations and how people are taking the news? Well, if you're a Democrat and you're voting, for the American people and not for illegal immigration, that again, Democrats have been enforcing for a very long time. I remember, I'm a victim of it. My father was deported. I know this by a Democrat. So, and by the way, my father totally deserved it. He did federal time. He served his time, but he was not one of the best people in this world. He would also tell you that as well. But it goes to show you the radicalization. This is why I can't turn into a radical. People call me a radical, but this is what radical looks like. This dude took it into his own hands because of the House representative not doing what he wanted to do. He then disguised himself. Here is some of the security cameras pictures. I don't want to show the videos, but this is what it looks like. This is what was released. Just in security images show assassin Vance Bolter knocking on a Minnesota lawmaker's door wearing latex mask and a security guard uniform meant to look like a police officer. This is terrifying. Terrifying times that we're living in, man. Very terrifying. And what's even more terrifying is Democrat content creators jumping on and blaming MAGA.
Senator John Hoffman both recently voted against their party, with Hortman supporting repeal of free health care for illegals and Hoffman joining Republicans in the Senate to pass it. This is what whack job Democrats do when you vote against party lines. This is what they do when you disagree with them. And the sad thing is I see so many creators trying to pin this on MAGA. Guys, MAGA would have no reason to go after these people. In fact, of all the people in the Minnesota House and all the people in the Minnesota Senate, these are the 2 Democrats that were working with the Republicans. And you think Republicans went after them. The only 2 people working with them. Yeah, sure. That makes sense if you don't think about it.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is just it's true. And here is the older millennial, excuse me. Here is his reply, but I want to first go to Harry Sisson, who is the sissiest liberal you can probably think about. Met him in person. He acts nothing like this in person, by the way. I'll keep that to you guys and myself, because it really doesn't matter. It's absolutely insane that MAGA lunatics are trying to claim that the Minnesota shooter was a liberal. He had a hit list with over 70 Democrats, including Tim Walz, abortion advocates. But how do we believe this? If he worked for Tim Walz, and also his wife did. They're very close to each other. How do we believe this? Harry is skipping over the fact that he was a Tim Walz appointee. And the only 2 Democrat representatives he shot were 2 who voted against their own party on illegal immigration in America, right? Very sensitive topic today. Again, look outside. Go look at some of the major cities. Now, some of these protests have been canceled because, many Democrats are calling to cancel because their own party is getting out of control. Their own party has gotten out of control. They're calling for the cancellation of these No Kings protests, but they're still happening today because of the parade. Now, you can argue that there's a percentage of sensible Democrats that just want to go out there and protest, and as they should, exercise their rights. But when you go into the crowd and you go look at these people and you start to look and you start to notice, well, who's actually out there and what's the majority look like out there? Well, I have a video for you to tell you what these people out there look like today.
I'm just so scared. I'm 74 years old. I worry about everything. And I just am so scared and upset, and I don't understand why people voted for.
That right there will make what that Vance man did. This is why he did it. This right here is a prime example of why I say what I say on this channel. People have lost total touch of reality, humanity at the same time. You can have your disagreements. You cannot agree with what you may think of the other side of the other party, or what Trump is doing with immigration, or what Trump's doing with the military. What you can have, but this freak out right here, this probably happened to her because she's been listening to Kyle Kalinske. She's been listening to the End of the World podcasters about how she will lose her rights, about how women are under attack, about how this, that, and the third. You're going to lose all your rights. So you have this reaction, a freakish reaction, by the way, unbelievable. This is where we're at today, and this is why people have become radical. I blame the media. I blame the outlets. I blame them because they're amplifying this BS, the lies. They've amplified it to another level that people are now taking it into their own hands. They think that the other side is after them, so they're acting on first. Meanwhile, the other side, who probably has the most guns, the most testosterone, let me make sure I said that correctly, they're not even making the first step. They're not taking the next step. Every MAGA person I know owns guns. They have not gone to the streets and acted crazy at no point. I don't know. Let me not get too overly emotional on this topic, but seeing this really does throw me off. It really does. It puts me at a very distant place, and I feel very distant from everybody. I feel very distant, like, whoa, we're probably not living in the same world. We're probably not living in the same reality. And this is me coming from the Bronx, New York, coming from roaches in my apartment, coming from welfare housing, Democrat voters everywhere, all around me. That's where I come from. A son to a man who was deported. That's me. I had it hard. I have it hard. Don't have it hard anymore because I worked hard and I educated myself and I took the necessary steps to become something in the United States of America. But then you have people like this. I don't get it. It's hard for me to articulate exactly how I feel because I feel anger and I think, what the is going on? You can have your disagreements, but once you take that next step to start shooting, you no longer live in the same reality as me. You are now trying to take the action of a man who has felt the last straw, that there's no coming back from that. That's not the reality that we all live in. We still go grocery shopping. We still go shopping with our family. We still go out. We still have a good time. We're still living our lives, but you're not. Where are you? Where's your mind? Where are you going? Where in your mind do you think you're living at? You really think you're in North Korea? You wouldn't be able to protest. Oh, Trump said protesters will be met with heavy force. Have you seen Los Angeles? Have you seen what's been going on? Have you seen people attacking police officers, throwing stuff at them? Yeah, they're going to be met with heavy force because these protesters of today, they're not regular, bro. They haven't been regular since 2020. Some might even argue even before that, whether what you are protesting, I agree with or not. It's the action of those protests not being protests. They're just violence. And what are we doing now? So I'm going on a rant, but it's because I've just been very disappointed in my counterparts and the people that I still feel some type of relation to, even though we vote differently, even though we might think very differently, I still feel a relationship with them. They're still American. We're still from the same place. A lot of them grew up where I grew up at. A lot of them didn't. But we're starting to really grow apart here. And it's starting to get really bad. It really is, fortunately.